Karen thought she could dull my holiday spirit with threats and HOA complaints. My Christmas lights were too bright, too joyful, and blinded her cat. But this year, I had a special surprise in store. I didn't just decorate my house, I turned it into a spectacle powered by Karen's own rage. Every blinking bulb and musical chime was synced to her furious voicemails. And when the whole neighborhood gathered to watch, Karen finally saw herself, in full color and stereo. Every December, my street transforms into a winter wonderland. Twinkling lights, inflatable Santas, and cheerful reindeer displays stretching across lawns like North Pole suburbia. And I've always gone all out. Not to win contests or show off, but because decorating for the holidays was something my late wife loved. After she passed 2 years ago, keeping the tradition alive became my way of honoring her. But Karen, my next-door neighbor and self-appointed HOA enforcer, hated it. It started small. The year after my wife passed, I strung a few classic lights along the roof and hedges. It was modest, really, nothing like the animated musical displays I used to set up. Even then, Karen left a printed notice in my mailbox that said, "Light displays must not exceed 10 lumens per square foot. HOA Rule 4.7. Lumens? Seriously? I ignored it. The following year, I added a glowing angel to the front yard and a sleigh on the porch roof. Again, I came home to a note. Noise ordinance violation pending. Please remove outdoor speakers. HOA Rule 6.1. I didn't even have speakers that year. And now, this year, I had decided it was time to fully bring back my wife's favorite Christmas show. She used to help me program lights to music. We'd spend hours getting the sync just right. I finally felt ready to do it again. So I set up the works. RGB strobes, wireframe reindeer, smart bulbs, animated sequences, and a powerful central controller to sync them with music. Every evening from 6 to 9 p.m., the house would light up to cheerful tunes, Carol of the Bells, Jingle Bell Rock, and our all-time favorite Feliz Navidad. It was dazzling. And Karen was furious. On the first night the lights went live, she stood across the lawn in a bathrobe and slippers, fists on her hips, glaring at my house like it was a crime scene. When the neighbors came out clapping and recording videos for Facebook, she stormed back inside and slammed her door. That night I got 3 voicemails, all from her. "You think this is funny, lighting up the whole street like it's Times Square. I can't sleep. I'm calling the HOA tomorrow. That music is blasting through my walls. If you don't turn that garbage off, I'll make sure you never plug a light in again, buddy." I listened to them all, then I got an idea. I backed up the voicemails, edited out the caller ID info, and imported the audio into my lighting control software. I carefully matched each of Karen's explosive rants to lighting cues. The blinking strobes would match her shouting. The color palette would shift dramatically with her tone. Her angry voice would echo through a speaker system I positioned carefully in my yard, at the HOA-approved decibel limit, of course. The next night, I ran the normal musical show from 6 to 7. At 7:15, I announced the special encore. A crowd had already started to form, kids bundled up in scarves, parents sipping hot cocoa, neighbors setting up lawn chairs across the street. Then, Karen's voice echoed across the block. "Turn off those lights." And every word triggered a blast of flashing color, synced to the exact rhythm of her angry rant. Her shriek of "I can't sleep" lit the whole house in bright red pulses like a rage alarm. The crowd burst out laughing. Some people didn't even realize it was real at first. They thought it was a staged comedy track. Until Karen stepped outside mid-show, her jaw dropped in horror. "Are you kidding me?" she screamed across the lawn, which, brilliantly, triggered the sensor mic I'd set up for live input. Her voice was immediately looped into the encore display. Everyone lost it. Karen ran back inside like a volcano about to erupt. Now, I wasn't trying to be cruel, but I was tired of being harassed for spreading joy, especially when it meant honoring someone I loved. Karen had tried to ruin something beautiful. so I figured it was fair to let her hear herself the way we all had for years. The next morning, I woke up to a certified HOA violation notice on my door. Use of neighbor's voice in public display, inappropriate content, cease and desist immediately. She really reported me for replaying her own words. I called the HOA and asked them to explain which specific rule had been violated. Silence on the line. I wasn't surprised. Karen was the HOA vice chair, but she wasn't exactly known for following due process. Most neighbors only put up with her because no one else wanted to deal with the paperwork of joining the board. So I made sure the encore was played again the next night, this time at exactly 70 decibels, the legal limit. This time more neighbors showed up. Some brought snacks, one guy even brought a boom mic to record the show. The kids screamed with laughter every time Karen's ranting voice burst out with, "You think this is a game?" The local news got wind of it. A freelance reporter stopped by, shot some B-roll of the display, and asked if she could interview me. I declined, politely. The piece still ran that weekend. Christmas showdown. One man's lights, one neighbor's wrath. Karen was mortified. She marched over to my house the next morning, red in the face and holding her little Pomeranian like a fur-covered grenade. "You're humiliating me in front of the whole city." "No, Karen," I said calmly. "You're humiliating yourself. I'm just sinking the lights." And then, in front of several amused neighbors, she screamed, "I'll shut this whole thing down if it's the last thing I do." Which, again, my live input mic recorded. So that night, we had a brand new encore clip. Karen had crossed lines before, but now she was in full meltdown mode. After the encore light show featuring her own angry voice went semi-viral, she tried every trick in the HOA handbook to shut me down. On Monday, I received a noise violation warning, despite all measurements being under the approved 70 decibel limit. On Tuesday, a new light pollution complaint mysteriously appeared, accusing me of causing insomnia and emotional distress. And by Wednesday, a notice from the city inspector arrived on my porch. An anonymous tip had reported I was running an unauthorized commercial event on my property. Classic Karen. But what she didn't realize was I'd prepared for this. I had paperwork for every permit, receipts for all my equipment, even screenshots of decibel meter readings from each night. My neighbor Sarah, a sound engineer, had helped me calibrate everything to remain within HOA and city guidelines. And most importantly, I had witnesses. Nearly a dozen neighbors had already submitted written statements, not just defending the lights, but calling the display a community morale boost. One parent even wrote that it was the first time their autistic child smiled during the holidays in years. Karen had picked the wrong season to be a Scrooge. Still, I knew she wouldn't stop. So I decided to raise the stakes, one final display to settle this once and for all. That weekend, I called in a few favors. My old college buddy Mike was now a projection mapping wizard who had worked on concert stages and public art shows. When I told him what I was up to, he drove down with a van full of gear and a mischievous grin. "Oh, we're going to make Karen internet famous," he said. The plan? A projection-mapped Karen Carol. A satirical animated light display on my garage door using snippets of her voicemails synced to a Christmas jingle, all within HOA legal limits, of course. It took 2 days to build. We edited together a goofy reindeer character with Karen's voice, timing her "turn off those lights" shriek to a dubstep remix of Silent Night. The finale ended with the animated Karen Deer being snowballed off-screen by a bunch of cartoon kids cheering. I announced it would play only once, Sunday, 8 p.m. sharp. The entire neighborhood showed up. Even a few people from the next subdivision strolled over after seeing the Facebook event. The street was packed with lawn chairs, thermoses, and families wrapped in fleece blankets. You could feel the buzz in the air. Then, just before showtime, Karen appeared, not quietly. She marched down her driveway holding a bullhorn and a clipboard. "Everyone please disperse. This is not authorized. This is a violation of—" But before she could finish, the display lit up. The cartoon Karen deer blinked onto the garage door, flanked by floating ornaments and glowing snowflakes. Her voice echoed, "I told you these lights are a disgrace." Then came the beat drop. The house exploded in color, greens, reds, icy blues, pulsing perfectly in time with her voice as she ranted and raved, now animated with floppy deer antlers and twitchy eyebrows. People were howling with laughter. Even kids started chanting, "Karen deer! Karen deer!" I glanced over. Karen's face was pale. She looked around, suddenly realizing she was the only one not enjoying the moment. She backed away slowly, disappeared into her house, and slammed the door so hard her Christmas wreath fell off. She never even filed a complaint about the final show. Why? Because that very night, the HOA board president emailed me. Turns out, several board members had seen Karen's behavior firsthand during the show. And after hearing from dozens of residents that she'd been abusing her position to intimidate neighbors, they held an emergency vote. The next day, Karen was removed as HOA vice chair. Her authority? Gone. Her clipboard? Gone. Her ego? Bruised beyond repair. And now, for the first time in years, our street had something even better than lights. Peace. The following weekend, I found something unexpected in my mailbox. A note. "I may not like your lights, but your wife would have been proud. I was wrong to interfere. Karen." It wasn't an apology exactly, but it was the closest thing to human I'd ever received from her. I didn't frame it or anything, but I did keep it. Not because I forgave her, but because it meant the message landed. Kindness, creativity, and community always shine brighter than control or complaints. Before we wrap this up, quick note to our viewers. If you love stories like this, filled with petty revenge, heart, and a good old-fashioned holiday showdown, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We've got plenty more on the way, and you won't want to miss the next wild HOA saga.